Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Live Team Alliance training session for Sunday, April 21st. Time right now is approximately 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Before we get started with tonight's training, as usual, I would like to welcome our new students. Those of you joining us in training for the first time, you guys are definitely in a very powerful environment where you're going to learn a lot. There's going to be a lot of information that is going to be shared with you. A great deal of it is going to be information about the market, but there's also going to be a lot of information that's going to be revealed to you about yourself, primarily the levels of patience and discipline that you possess, and I would even dare to say the amount that you lack. Patience and discipline are the two pivotal things that you need in order to be successful trading long term. They're not optional things. For some reason, people think that they are. They think that they can get away with not developing the necessary patience that they need and be successful in the market. And you cannot do that. Regardless of the way that you're trading, the way that, your approach is, or whatever method or strategy that you might be following, or even if you're learning directly from us on Team Alliance and the way that we look at the market, you still need patience. Patience is something that you have to learn how to develop because it's directly tied into winning consistently. Patience and consistent winning, they go hand in hand. Hand in hand. So you'll begin to realize this as you get tested by the market. The market is like a mirror. It's really just showing you yourself. So everything that you hear me mention and you hear us talk about, I assure you that is going to be the case for you, just like it is for everyone. The question is, how are you going to deal with it? So for some, depending on how you're built, you may react and you might respond faster than someone else as far as understanding it and then reacting. And what I mean is reacting as far as learning how to develop your patience. Some people react by continuing to not have any patience, and it's not going to work. You're going to get anxious, you're going to get very excited when you see what it is that we do, because you realize once you see it that this is something that is going to work. Now, the only thing that you have to learn and condition yourself to do is to not deviate away from it and not get anxious when you're waiting. Like during the wait time, when you're literally waiting for the market to set up and to position itself, there's a lot of temptation in that period, a lot of it. You're going to be tempted to do a lot of things because you think that your skill level is high enough to do it. You'll feel like, well, I can do this because I'm pretty good now. And it could be the case. But the market is going to really show you whether that's the case or not. It's not going to just be because you said, oh, I'm good now. I'm pretty good now. I think I could do this. That's not going to be the reason why. It's going to be because the market basically is showing you that you are not what you think you are. So the humility comes in to play as well. It's very important to remain humble as you get better. And I'm speaking in terms of as your skill level increases and you're coming directly into the training now where you're positioned to increase your skill level very quickly. Like it's not going to take you long to acquire the skill and begin to just fine-tune it and continue to, develop it. What happens is you still have to deal with yourself, one, and you also have to allow time and experience to kick in, because they are the only two things aside from patience that is going to exacerbate your skill level. Like, the only way that you're going to get better is time. The only way that you're going to, be exposed to the market over time is by being exposed to the market over time. So it's like you just can't get away from certain elements of what we do. The patience part is very difficult for some. The time part is difficult for most. Mostly everyone runs into that, where they feel like, oh, this is taking too long, or, I don't have the time to train. I can't do this right now. A lot of different things will come into play. But I assure you that the reason that you don't have time now is because you don't possess a skill that is capable of freeing your time up. That's all it is. And that's what you're here to do. You're here to learn a skill that will allow you to free your time. It's going to not only give you financial freedom, it's going to give you time freedom also. And it's so funny because you wouldn't think that something that's going to give you time freedom will require so much time in the beginning. And that's the trade-off. That's like the punchline. You're going to get time freedom, absolutely. But in the beginning, when you're starting out, it's going to require a lot of time on your part. So, it's just something really that you have to be self-aware about. Just examine yourself and just, see if the timing is right for you now, personally. And if you feel like the timing is not right, that means that the time is right. It's so funny because, like, I like to talk about these things because everything that you think that it is not what it is. And the things that you don't think it is, that's what it is. It's like reverse. And it's a very interesting thing that goes on, psychologically with everyone. But anyway, you're in the right environment. You're around a lot of people here that are going to help to motivate you and keep you focused. And, the training is just solid. It's very repetitive, on purpose. Everything that you're going to be exposed to is repetitious. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. And even though you're learning through the repetition, and it seems like it's monotonous, as you deal with the market more, you'll realize that it ain't. You'll realize that every single day is something different that you're seeing in the market, even though you're doing the same thing. The market is showing you something different each day. So that's why the way that we train and the way that everything is set up and designed for you to wait is like that by design. So the waiting is very important because we want to always make sure that we're waiting until the market literally decides to give us money. We don't do anything until that time comes. Now, in the interim, in that time, you will get exhausted. You will get, frustrated, especially if you're new, because you don't understand yet that this is what it takes. But over time, my goodness, this is going to be so rewarding for you because this is true freedom. It really is. This is a skill that, as you have it and you develop it and you grow, you're just going to be in a position to just do remarkable things. You don't even know that yet. At first it just seems like you're just trying to win trades. But what you're really doing all this time is you're constantly working on yourself day in and day out. And that's what needs to be worked on the most. It's the patience part. That's all you got to do. If all you did was just wait for the market, we got the spreadsheet. Wait for the market, follow the spreadsheet, and don't do anything else. Like, this is going to be your year if that's all that you do. Will you do that? A lot of you more than likely no, because you still have to deal with yourself and peel back so many layers to get to the core so that you can begin to work from there. Some of you are not going to get past the surface level, so you got to keep digging and keep digging and keep digging. What do I mean by that? You got to keep training. Oh, well, Mark, I listened to the training video 5 times. That ain't enough. Well, I listened to it 10 times. That ain't enough. So what about 15 times? Nope. Well, how many times should I listen to it? You don't stop listening to it. See, this is what I mean as far as the level that it takes. And this is why I like to discuss this and talk about it even more and more now, because if you know in advance that you have to commit a certain degree of yourself to something, you'll do it because you know what lies at the end of it. You're not doing it expecting the end to be now. Like, you don't train now thinking that you're going to overnight become the best trader in the world and just make money. You're training now for what you're going to be next year. You're training now for what you're going to be 6 months from now. You see, that's how this works. You can't become what you're going to be 6 months from now if you don't do it now. Well, Mark, I don't have time to do it now. Okay, well, you're prolonging that 6 months to a year. You see how that works? Oh, I don't have time right now, Mark. Okay. All you're doing is making the time longer for yourself, because it doesn't matter what you do, you still are going to have to deal with yourself. That's the part that you're never going to get away from. Like, just think about that for a second. Think about your shadow. Like walk in the sun, right? And then look at your shadow and look at what your shadow was doing. Your shadow just keeps following you everywhere that you go. You can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of yourself. So, you know, this training is different. It's really designed to force you to deal with yourself. The timing, that's what becomes the issue for most people. You know, so some people feel like now's not the time, it's not a good time. I got too much going on. I'm, you know, too many hours of work. I got my kids. I don't have the time. Everything that you're describing is reasons that you should do it more, because you want the time. The time that you don't have is the time that you want. You got to train. You just have to do it. It just is what it is. Let me read the comments real quick. Jeffrey said, every day is training day. Mitchell said, till full understanding of all phases, and even then, we train. Bingo. Adam, you can't stop exercising and expect to stay in shape. Listen to that. Is that true? Think about that. You ever see somebody get buff, right? They all muscular, they cut up, and then they stop working out? You see what happens when they stop working out and they start eating more chicken wings and eating more bread? They're not chiseled no more after a while, right? They start to get fat and sloppy a little bit. And it's not like they just go straight to fat and sloppy. It takes time. But it's the time that they're not putting in as far as the exercise goes that's the reason that they're not going to continue to stay in shape. So you see what the time does. If you just remain in shape, you don't have to get in shape. Matthew says we can always find time for the things we really want. And that's what it is. How bad do you want it? Adam said they start to look like me. I'm sure a few of us. So anyway, so we're going to get into some of the actual training on what it is that we do on these charts. So for those of you who are new, inside of the playlist that I shared with you when you first signed up, video number 301, that's the video that you need to have on repeat. Just every day you need to be watching that video. Even if you interject it with other videos in the list, you need to have 301 on rotation. Like, period. That needs to be a part of your everyday regimen. Same way that you know, if you want to diet, every day you eat oatmeal, right? In the morning, that's your oatmeal right there. First thing in the morning. All right, so this platform that we're using is called Nadex. On this platform, we're trading 5-minute binary options in particular. Now, the binaries are a simple yes or no decision as far as the instrument. Okay, like this is different than traditional Forex, because traditional Forex, you know, if that's your background and you're coming from that, you know, you're used to trading lots, micro lots, mini lots, and your whole framework is built on direction. You know, if you're buying, you want the price to go up. You're looking for a trend going up, right? You're looking for certain price levels to come into play. You're looking at points of reversals, pivots. There's so many different factors that play into the way that people trade traditional Forex. And a lot of it just has to do with the way that, you know, you're exposed to it, because a lot of it is indicators and things that lag and that don't even reveal actual price behavior in the first place. So you're never really exposed to anything from the perspective of behavior and the way that the market moves. You're more so exposed to the direction of the market. So for what we do here, it's the opposite of that. We're not concerned about direction at all. What we're concerned about is the behavior of the market relative to the binary option that is relevant at the time. Okay, so that's it. Like that's all we're really concerned with, is how the market is moving, the actual environment of the market, meaning how fast is the market moving. And when you put all of these things together, that then positions everything in a way where you can understand what the market is doing right now, not trying to predict what the market is going to do, because that's the part that everybody has a problem with. Nobody can do that. No one can seem to do that consistently, and you don't have to. So by understanding the environment, which is how fast is the market moving, and then the behavior, which is how is the market moving, those actually constitute the first two phases of the protocol that we use. Now, the third phase of our protocol is the actual rules. The rules or the parameters for us engaging with the market. So the rules play a part because they also correspond to the first two phases. Like, there are pieces of the parameters that are just reconfirmation of the first two phases. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we just go through it. So we begin with the environment in the market. And the environment in the market simply means how fast is the market moving. The reason that that's important is because the speed of the market is going to determine whether or not you'll be able to see the behavior. If the market is moving too fast, the actual behavior of the market can hide in that speed. That's why what we want is for the market to actually slow down. And we have an exact way to measure that slowdown. The way that we measure a slowdown is simply by looking at the amount of micro pips that the price is moving by. And when I say micro pips, what I'm referring to is the last digit of the actual price of the market. Now, the market that we're watching in particular is the GBP / USD, or the Great British Pound / US dollar. This is the underlying market that we watch. So when you hear me say the market, that's what I'm talking about, the pound. Okay? Now, when we look at the price of this market on this platform, it's in several places. One of them is over here where you see this black box. See this black box over here with the white number in it? That's the price. Up here where it says indicative price, that is the price as well. That's the same price as this. And on a ticket, which is what I just opened, where you see Nadex indicative index, that is the price. So the price of the market, that last digit, that represents the micro pip. So every time that you see that last digit change, whatever number it's changing by represents the speed. And the number that you want to look at is the number that's on the actual ticket. And what I mean is that you want to look at the indicative price from the ticket. So the indicative price, which is the number that's up here, that's going to reappear in a second. It just vanished just now because the binary reset. So right there, 1.298872. That price and this price here on the ticket are the exact same number. Now down here on the chart, the number in the box is the same number, but it moves slightly different than the actual indicative price. So we always want to refer to the actual indicative price, which is the price that we see on the ticket, which is also the same price up here where it says indicative price. They are the exact same number. Number on the chart moves slightly different than that number. Okay, just to be clear. So now, the speed. We measure the speed by looking at that last digit, and every time that that last digit changes, we want to see it change by 1 micropip the most often. We want 1 micropip of speed to dominate. So when we're looking and we're measuring the speed, which basically we're doing when we get towards the end of the binary, like when we get into the last minute of the binary, you want to be looking at what that speed is. You can actually look at it before that, but I'm pointing that out because that's going to play a role when we look at the next phase as well. Okay? So looking at behavior. We're looking at behavior in the last minute of the binary also. And there's a very specific reason for that. So anyway, we want to measure the speed. Once we measure the speed and we see that we have dominance of 1 micropip, in other words, that last digit is changing by 1 more frequently than any other number, we know that we're in a slow condition. Okay? Now, once we know and we recognize that we're in a slow condition, we can then move on to the next phase, which is the behavior. And as I mentioned already, the behavior is something that we watch in the last minute of the 5-minute binary. Now, the 5-minute binary is a clock. It begins at 5 minutes, and this happens every 5 minutes. It recycles. It's a new one that presents itself on the platform. It starts at 5, ends at 0. Okay, but it's broken down into these candles that you see on the chart, the green and the red. So each of these represent 1 minute. So we're dealing with binaries. The binary is a line in the sand. What it means is that the price that is reflected as the strike price of the option is one of these black horizontal lines down here. So let's just look at that for a moment from the perspective of where the market currently is. Okay, you see where the market is right now. Right now it's actually 6 micropips above this horizontal line right here. So this horizontal line right here represents the 29.87 strike price. That's the same as this one up here in the middle. This one. Okay? Now, when you're looking at the strike price, the way that you win the binary is by identifying the direction of the trade itself that you want to take. So if you want to buy, let's say that you want to buy this line, you would be looking at pricing in this box right here that I just clicked, this blue box. Because you're looking, or you're anticipating that the price of the market is going to remain above this line. So the pricing to buy this line would be inside of this blue box, which is also up here reflected by the blue number on the ticket, which is also reflected on the buy side. That's why the buy is highlighted, because we would be anticipating that the price is going to remain above this line if we bought the line. So this is the 29.87, and buying this means that we're anticipating that the price of the market itself is going to stay above that line. If we're correct, we would win the trade. If you were not correct, it means that the price would ultimately end underneath this line somewhere by the time the binary expires. That would cause you to lose that trade. So the winner and the loser is decided by what the market does during the last minute of the binary, period. Like you saw how it was up here just now, and it's continuing to move up. Now, if it was up here and it basically moved lower instead of moving up, If it moved lower and it ended underneath this line, if you bought, you would have lost that trade. That's how simple the binary is. There's one winner and there's one loser. The way that you win is by being correct about where the price is going to end. Where's the price going to end? That's the question. It has nothing to do with direction yet. This is why we don't even study direction. We study behavior. I could care less about this trend. Like, see, this is how people look at direction. They'll see, oh, this is the 930, this is the 940 binary. All right. Oh, it's moving up. It's trending up. All right, I'm going to buy this. You're buying that based on the fact that it's trending up. But it has nothing to do with that. Because if there's behavior present in this market that would cause the behavior of the market to do something different, by the time you got over here to this last candle, which is the last minute, if this price decided to come back down underneath that line, you would lose that trade. So that's why you can't do it like that. That's why people lose when they try to trade binaries the way that they would be trading in Forex. That's exactly why people lose that way. And I'm talking about this because I'm giving you examples and scenarios of why people lose, and they don't understand why they lose. They get mad at the market. Oh, the market didn't do what it was supposed to do. Actually, the market does what it wants. So it's always doing what it's supposed to do. It just didn't work for you because you selected a trade and you didn't understand market behavior. And that's why you ended up losing. As a matter of fact, that's why you'll always lose. You ain't going to lose every trade, but you ultimately are going to lose your account. This is what happens to people. So that's why, you know, those of you that came here, as soon as you come here, you already know what it is. You see that what we do is different, and we're actually looking at the market and studying what the market is doing. So your skill level is already ahead of everybody else. That's why on this platform, you're going to kill this platform when you follow our protocol. Because the protocol is based on understanding and interpreting the market. It ain't based on picking trades. That ain't what we're doing. We're not here just selecting trades. Anybody can pick a trade. Oh, this one looks good right here. I got 2 minutes. Yeah, all right, I made $23 on this trade. Let me take that. Anybody could do that. Now, what if as soon as you decide to do that, price starts to do something else and start moving back up again? Just because it wants to. That's why you can't just pick trades. If you don't understand what the behavior of the market is doing, you're going to lose anyway. So anyway, so what we do is exactly that. We interpret the market at all times. And our protocol puts us in position to trade only when we have permission to trade. And that's what this is leading up to. So again, let me just recap very quickly. The first phase is that slow condition that I mentioned. We want to make sure that the dominant speed is 1 micropip. If we see that we got a slow condition, now we're looking at behavior. And behavior simply means, okay, last minute of the binary, how is the price moving? In the last minute of the binary, how is the price moving? That's the question that you always are going to be asking. So just as an example, during this last binary, we were actually watching this. You could see how the price was moving. Right now we're coming up on the last minute of the current binary. We're going to see how the price moves. We're going to see where it starts, and we're going to see where it ends. And remember that this is a binary, so the importance of where it ends is the end-all be-all. It doesn't matter what it's doing. Wherever it ends is going to decide who wins and who loses. So you got to understand how it is behaving. How is it moving? And once you begin to understand and interpret that, that's what's going to cause you to only be in position when you're going to win a trade. And that's what the protocol allows us to do. Our protocol is only even going to put us in engagement with the market once we know that the market has already presented us with winning trades. In other words, a winning scenario. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So if you look at how this moved just now, You see how it opened up here, it moved slightly lower, and it stayed where it moved to? It just stayed there. And that's the behavior that we're looking for, actually. We want the price to move, and we want it to stay wherever it moves to during the last minute of the binary. Why? Because wherever it moves to means that that behavior is likely to be the case on a trade that you would take. Like, just think about it logically. If you were in a trade, let's say that you were trading, we'll use this line. We'll use the 29.89. So if you're looking at this line, right, and you were currently in this trade for a buy, what would you want the price to do relative to this line, knowing that the price staying above the line means you win? What would you want it to do relative to this line? You would want it to move away from the line. So look at what this candle here just did. Look at what the price did during this minute. It moved up, up, and away from the line. And look at what it did at the end. It stayed away. You see? So it moved and it stayed. It moved and it held. That's the behavior that you would want to see. That's profitable behavior. If the market is moving like that, that is profitable behavior. Because when it moves like that, if you were in that trade, it means that that win would be secured. And that is exactly what we're looking for and we're waiting to see. So that's why that behavior is what we wait for, move and hold. And that is exactly what it's called, move and hold. So now, we're doing that study. This observation is taking place in the last minute of the binary. And we're going to treat it the same way that we treat the price when we're looking at the environment. Remember that when you are recognizing a slow condition, you do that by seeing dominance of 1 micropip of speed present. In other words, you're seeing 1 micropip more frequently than any other speed. That lets you know you have a slow condition. Okay, cool. How do you know that you got profitable behavior? When you're seeing these move and holds at the end of these binaries more frequently than any other behavior. Dominance. So once again, dominance of 1 micropip in the environment, dominance of move and hold with the behavior. You see? So this is the second phase that we're looking at, behavior. And dominance is the key word for both phases. In the first phase, you want the dominant speed to be 1 micropip. In the next phase, which is behavior, you want the dominant behavior to be move and hold. If you're seeing that, you know that the behavior is present. And then we move on to the third phase. So we'll assume that right now we have the first and the second phase in place. Right now. Okay? Now we begin the parameter process. This is the third phase. So the way that this is actually setting up now, this could potentially set up. But we're going to just observe. Basically right now what we're looking to see is for the parameters to be met on this trade setting up. So when we get right around the minute mark, that's going to begin the second parameter. The first one started at 1:30. And all we did at 1:30 was measure the speed again. The same way that we did in the first phase. Measuring the speed at the 1:30 mark down to the 1 minute mark lets us know that the slow condition is still present. You see, it's just confirming that we still have a slow condition. Now we move on to the second parameter. Second parameter, we almost had it here, but we don't have it. It's the distance. You see how this is at 29,905? This is 5 micropips underneath the line, 29.91. It's 5 under. We would want to see that 5 of distance, and we also would want to see an additional micropip. So we would want it to go from 5 down to 4, because if this is a sell, we want the price to move away from the strike price, meaning down. It's under. Okay? So we want it to move down and away. So if we got the 5 plus the 1, those are two parameters. One of them is the distance, which is a minimum of 5 micropips underneath this line. And then the other one is the extra micropip, so that we know that we have speed of only 1. The only way to know that is if the price actually moves. You see, so that's what the plus 1 does. So we call it 5 plus 1, distance plus speed. And if you have 5 plus 1, it means you have the correct distance, and then you get the plus 1, or the extra micropip, to confirm that you still have 1 micropip of speed. And that is at minimum. It might continue to move, so you might get another one. Could get another one after that. But it doesn't have to be. As long as you get the 5 plus 1, that's confirmation right there for distance and speed. And then you look at the third parameter. Well, actually, it's going to be the fourth parameter. Fourth parameter is making sure that the price does not move back towards the line. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. So this right here was the last minute of the last binary. I'm just boxing that in. So the next parameter after distance and speed is looking at if the price is actually moving back towards your line. So let's say we were selling. If you're selling, you want price to move away from the line. You do not want to see price moving back towards the line. Because if the price moves back towards the line, it's a threat. And we're not messing with threats. We're not playing. We're not playing around with the threats at all. So a backtick, that's what it's called, is when the price is moving back towards the line. If you see that while you have the other parameters in place, that would disqualify that setup. If you don't see that, in other words, if there's no backtick, and let's say you get 5 plus 1 with no backtick, that is exactly what we want to see. And then we move on to the next parameter. The next parameter is option pricing. So that's when we come to these boxes. We start looking at the pricing in these boxes and actually begin to wait for the market to position itself so that we can see if it's in sync. What I mean by that is if everything is in sync, all of the parameters that we just went through will be in place. They'll all be there. You'll have 5 plus 1, no backtick. And when you look at option pricing, for option pricing, we use threshold numbers. So, for example, for a sell, our threshold is 17. And 17 just simply means that if we're selling, if the price of the option is more than 17, it's favorable for us. 17 is our threshold limit. So if the price stays above 17, it means that the pricing is favorable. And that means that the market is in sync if we got the other parameters too. If all the other parameters are in place and you got favorable pricing, now it's just a matter of you looking at the clock to see when that pricing goes underneath 17. So say, for example, it starts out at 25 when you have all the other parameters in place. And I'm laying out a scenario right now. Starts out at 25 with all the other parameters in place, under the minute mark. Starts at 25, you might see 24 and change, 23, 22 and change. You might see 20. Then maybe 21, then you might see 19 or 18. Now, you see how there's a gradual progression towards 17. It didn't go to 17 yet, and while the numbers are moving progressively lower towards 17, the clock is also ticking down. So you're seeing all of this happen simultaneously. All this happen at the same time. Clock is ticking down. Your pricing is gradually making its way towards 17. And what you're looking to see is at what point does the price go below 17? So say it goes to 16.50. Like you're looking at it. If it starts at a 25, it gradually is making its way lower. 25, 24, 22, 21, 23, 19, 18.50, 17, 16.50. As soon as you see that 17, 16.50, you want to look at the clock and see how much time is left on the clock. The time left on that clock is going to let you know and give you guidance as you move into the trades that follow up after this. Because what's happening in this process and in this scenario is if this trade is setting up like this, right, it's giving you all of this information that I just told you, or a variance of it. It's giving you this information. Now, at the end, you need to make sure that the behavior is that move and hold that we talked about. You got to have that move and hold at the end of it. So with all of the things that just happened in the scenario that I'm giving you, all of the parameters are met, favorable pricing was there, you saw how much time was left on the clock when it priced out, you have a lot of information now going into the follow-through setups that could take place afterwards. Now, at the end of this setup, you need your behavior to be move and hold. That way you would have the fruition of everything. Everything that we're waiting to see at that point took place. All the parameters were met. We already had phase 1 and phase 2 in place. Phase 3 being the parameters means that all the parameters are met, and then ultimately at the end, when that clock runs out, the behavior at the end is move and hold. Now we're assuming that we have all of that. There's a name that we have for that. It's called Mark's Rule, move and hold. The reason that it's called move and hold at the end is because that's what you need to see at the end. So Mark's Rule means that that valid trade set up. Move and hold means that the behavior was also present while that valid trade set up. Got it? So you need both. And that's MRMH. And that's the permission slip that I mentioned earlier in the training that we're waiting to see. This is what I just went over is exactly what you're going to learn in more detail in number 301. And this is pretty detailed now that I'm going through because I went through each piece by piece. So as you're waiting to see everything transpire the way that we just went through it, at some point the market is going to do all of this. And when it does, now you have permission. But I want you to understand that this process is you observing. Like you can't take the trade that sets up because you don't know what the behavior is going to be at the end of the trade. So like say that the trade set up and it was valid. All the parameters were met. It looked beautiful. You still don't know how it's going to end. And that's why waiting for the move hold part at the end of MRMH, that's a part of it. That comes with it. That right there is the icing on the cake. Once you have that, now you have the solid MRMH. Now you have permission. So now you can take the next valid trade that sets up. Because you actually had not only a trade set up, but you had a trade set up with the right timing, it was in sync, and the behavior at the end was profitable behavior. So from that point on, we just continue to observe. We continue to do all of the things that we've been doing the whole time. And when another valid trade sets up, and we can't disqualify it, we'll be in that trade. And that's going to be the trade that the market is giving to you. That's when the market is giving it up, as we say. And understand also that either the market will give it up or it won't, even after MRMH. So understand, there are going to be times where we have MRMH and then the market doesn't give it up after. And you have to be willing to accept that. You should be glad. It's like, I want you guys to understand, you should be glad when you don't trade, because you know why you're not trading. You know why you're not. You know why you didn't take the trade. Nah, there was a back tick. All right, well, we understand we ain't take that trade. Nah, the pricing was off. Nope. All right, we understand why we didn't take it. Nope, market's too fast. We know why we didn't take it. You see what I'm saying? Nah, we didn't have the. Nah, we only had 4 micropips away. We didn't have the distance. All right, we know we're not taking that. You see, you understand that staying out of the market is the skill, not getting in. What? What do you mean, Mark? Staying out of the market is the skill. It's easy to get into a trade. Staying out and understanding why you stayed out, that's the skill. Patience to wait, that's the skill. The discipline not to do anything until it comes, that's the skill. These are all of the elements that come with trading successfully, long term, as a business, as your career, winning consistently, not losing. This is what it's going to take. So the way, again, the way that the training is set up is designed the way that it is on purpose. I don't want you to think that, oh, well, nah, we ain't getting enough trades, so there's something wrong. No, we not getting trades, so there's something right. If we're not trading, we're right. When we are trading, it's because the market gave it up, not because we are nice. Oh, we the best at this. No, we only good at this because we know how to cooperate with the market. Everybody else is going to get smacked. Like, you guys don't understand to what degree I mean that. Like, there are people, literally, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars that they put into trading, and they lose it all. You're going to have a skill where you can take $100 and take it wherever you want. Literally, $100. This is why when people look at that, on the outside, they're like, nah, $100 ain't shit. All right. It ain't shit to you because you don't know what you're doing. And I guarantee you, if you trade against me, you'll lose. You see, like they don't understand that aspect of it on this platform. This platform right here make it even. This is a level playing field. You're not trading against the broker. You trading against somebody on the other side who don't know what they're doing like you do, who doesn't understand the market like you do. They don't understand in sync. They don't know what that means. They don't even know that there is an in sync. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this is really amazing. Matthew said, the market will show you that you're not that nice, son. It'll let you know quickly. Joshua said, all they care about is Justin. Come on, man. But that's what it is. And it took a long time for me personally to accept the fact that the market is always in control. Like, you don't want to accept that at first because you feel like there's a level of control that comes with you developing your skill. And there is a level of control. The level of control is the fact that you submit to the market. That's the control. You're not controlling the market. That's not what our skill is. That's impossible. Nobody controls the market. You align yourself and become in sync with the market. You can recognize when the market is in sync on the platform. Like, there's so many nuances and little things that you begin to pick up on with the time and experience that I was mentioning earlier in training. Certain things that only time and experience are going to teach you. Well, Mark, how'd you know to take that one? I didn't know to take it. The market let me know to take it. Well, what do you mean by that? I'm in sync with the market. I don't do anything until the market says, all right, you're good. Huh? It's just like when you study in school. You study the material long enough, and you know the material like the back of your hand, you don't need the book no more. Right? When you're reading the book, if that material is in the book, you can read the hell out of the book to the point where you don't need the book anymore. It's subconscious. That's how long and how much you need to be studying. So it's the same concept. It's not different. It's the same exact thing. The more that you study, the more that you're exposed to it, the more time, the more dedication that you put into studying. And when I say studying, I don't even mean necessarily being in front of the charts. Just listening to training is studying. Just listening to it over and over again. All we do is talk about everything. Everything that I just went through is on every training. So every time that you listen to training, you're literally increasing your skill. The time hasn't come yet for you to execute yet, but that's okay. When the time does come, guess what? It'll be subjective for you. It's going to be at a subconscious level. You're going to be knowing stuff, and you'll be like, wow, I don't even know how I knew that. How did I know that? Because you've been listening to training. You've been watching training. I kid you not, there are people that have never been on live training before that trade and win every day. They haven't been on live training yet. Adam said, just like when you were leaving school, the market is the traffic, MRMH is the crossing guard. Come on, man. Did y'all catch that? And you know how the crossing guard regulates. Like the crossing guard with the stop sign in their hand. That crossing guard. They literally have a stop sign. And they stand in the middle of the street and they tell the cars to stop with a big ass red stop sign. That's the MRMH right there. Now you got permission to walk across the street. You good. Yes, he definitely is in the juice. He all in the juice. You guys can feel free to ask questions. I had meant to say that earlier. Sometimes, the training can go in many different directions. It really just depends on what is going on at the time, on the vibration. Sometimes training is one way, some other times it'll be another way. Tonight it's just the training, just the core fundamentals of what we do in the protocol. Sometimes we just need to go over it again, like in full. A lot of other times I like to engage and, get everyone to engage on the training and give me the feedback. Sometimes we just need to hear it, just straight through. So, whatever's called for, I'm just led and compelled to do whatever that is at the time. But if you guys have questions, they don't necessarily have to be related to the protocol or anything, but just in general, please feel free to ask your questions. And there was something else I wanted to say just now. It seemed like it was about the spreadsheet. Might be about the spreadsheet. Let me think for a second. Yeah, it was about the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is a roadmap. When you look at that spreadsheet, you can see the power of the consistency, not the consistency of your trading, the consistency of your training. TRAIN, I-N-G. You're training. When you trade, you're executing the training. Like, I want you guys to really take hold of that idea, because this is what happens. Every time that you trade, it's reflecting the way that you're training. So some of you don't train enough. So what happens is your trading now is filled up with other stuff. It's just stuff. It's like fluff in between, if that makes sense. Like, you can tell when someone's not training enough, because they'll say something, you know, in the group chat, oh yeah, I just took that one. It's like, what? You just took what one? Oh, I'm 2-0. How are you 2-0? It's 7 o'clock. You understand what I'm saying? There's just certain things that are said, and it lets you know to what degree someone is training or you know, exposing themselves to training. And what I want you to understand and to appreciate is that in the beginning, when you first start doing this, you need to train more and trade less. Like, you don't need to be trading. You really need to be listening and absorbing the information from training. When you get to the point where you know, without even taking a trade, what a trade is and what it looks like, you know what a DQ looks like. Like, I would rather much see you in the group chat saying, yo, that one was no good, it had a back tick. I would rather see you do that than to tell us that you're 2-0. Like, I'm not giving you the edification because you're 2-0. I want to know, well, why did you take a trade at all? Why are you the only one that took a trade? It's 7 o'clock. The market just opened up at 6. It's 7. How are you 2-0? It's 7. How are you 1-0? It's 7. Where's the Marx rule at? You see the questions that I'm asking? So, and if you don't know what MRMH is, if you're saying what's MRMH, you definitely need to just watch training. You need to watch 301 on repeat. Like, don't just stop and don't do nothing else. Just stop and just watch 301 until you begin to understand what you're seeing in the market. Let me go back a little bit. Walker said, as a business, what would you say are the most valuable metrics to keep track of? As far as for what we do, the metrics are definitely paper trading. Like, when you paper trading is not just being able to recognize the MRMH or to recognize the follow-through trades. A part of your paper trading process is DQing also, because that's going to help you to understand the dynamic of what MRMH looks like and why it is MRMH. The easier that it gets for you to disqualify trades, when MRMH is presented, you'll know instantly. Like, you don't have to wonder and look at it and say, I wonder if that was it. Like even right now, there are a handful of people, like in the group, I can already tell by looking at the way that they engage in the group chat whether or not they understand what MRMH even is. A lot of times someone will ask on the MRMH, like say MRMH comes up, and this is in the daytime, like when we're all on the charts or whatever. It could be at any time. And the MRMH will come, and I'll see someone post, and they'll say, was that it? Now, the fact that they're saying that, they know that it's it. They know that that was it. But they're asking because they want the confirmation from us, from the collective group. You see what I'm saying? That's how you keep yourself connected to the training. If you're able to pick up on what you think it is, and you're right, It's just giving you confirmation that you're training thoroughly. You definitely are, because you wouldn't even know that if you were not training. Now, if you're asking what is MRMH, you're not training enough at all. Like, you really need to just watch videos for real, because you need to understand the dynamic of MRMH and why. Like, why we gotta wait for MRMH before we take a trade? If you don't know the answer to that, then you really need to train more. You just really do. Let me go back to Jermaine said, if MRMH is a buy, will the follow trade most likely be a buy, or it doesn't matter if it's a, yeah, it doesn't matter at all. It could be either or. Remember that the direction, we don't even know what it is yet. You're not going to know until the market sets up. But when it does set up, you'll know. Because when you apply those parameters and they met, that's going to be the trade that's given you after MRMH. Yes, Jeffrey is correct. Don't think it matters as long as all parameters are met after MRMH, take the trade. Absolutely. Mitchell said, I stopped working on my demo since I joined. I prefer to just go through the videos, the online training, and just really pay close attention to what you're showing us. I may start getting my demo in about 2 more weeks until I can go through as many of the videos as I can. That's an excellent idea. See, and you notice how, like, I like when you guys do that, because I don't always tell y'all specifically what to do and what not to do. Like, you know, I prefer to just train. When we're on training, I just train. We just go through the training. When you know what you need to do personally, that means that you're searching yourself with efficiency, because you know what it is that you need. You know what it is that you're lacking and what's going to help to bring you to where you need to be. Like, that's very specific what Mitchell just said. There's no way he just said, I stopped working on my demo. And it's like, you know, depending on the person, it's like, well, why you stop doing that? The demo is how you're supposed to practice. No, it's not. The demo is not how you're supposed to practice. How do you practice? The training. See, what happens with the training is that as you train more, by the time you begin to practice, you're practicing the protocol now. You're not practicing what you think the protocol is. You see the difference? When you just open up a demo and you go on demo and you start taking trades, you're practicing what you think the protocol is. The majority of the protocol is not taking a trade at all. You realize that. Think about what we do. How often do you see me take a trade while we're on training? Like, think about it from that perspective. It's like, well, Mark, why you don't be taking no trades? There is no trade to take. So you see the same discipline that I exercise while we're on training. I'm not just on the platform taking trades just to take them. One, what do we have MRMH? Yeah, we have MRMH. All right, cool. We're going to look for the follow-through trade to set up. Oh, it didn't set up yet. All right, well, it is what it is. Is the Mark's rule still effect? Yeah, it's still there. All right, cool. We're going to keep watching. We get off training. Trade might come after training. Trade comes after training. I'll probably take it. 4 or 5 other people probably take the same trade. Like, that's how it ends up working itself out. So we are submitting all the time to the market. That's why the primary practicing that we're doing is staying out. You're not taking no trades most of the time. Most of the time you're waiting. You are just in wait, observation mode. And I want you to understand that that is the most powerful thing that you're doing, because you know why you're not taking the trade. Don't you realize how powerful that is? You know why you're not trading. You automatically have the edge over everybody else on the platform. Jamie said you can't take follow through with MRMH. Oh, without MRMH. Yes, correct. Correct. Karen said there's so many details to keep track of. I'm planning to immerse myself in the training videos until I feel less confusion. That's how you do it, Karen. And I know, see, I understand that it's intimidating for some people in the very beginning. But I always like to use the Jay Carley example because Jay Carley represents you. Like if you're new, you don't know anything about Forex, it's taking you time to even get an understanding of the terminology that we're using and all of that type of stuff. I want you to understand that that's what Jay Carley was in the beginning. And it was even more amplified for her personally because when she started, the training was not what it is now. We didn't have Mark's Rule when she started. So she came at a time when we were in the evolutionary process at the beginning of it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not using her just because it's her. I'm using her because she represents an example of what you are if you're new. You don't know a lot. The terminology sounds funny. It's like, what are they talking about? What's MRMH? Well, then what's MH? Like, you still trying to grasp the difference between MRMH and moving whole. I know that. But this is what happens as you train. It all just opens up and becomes clear. Like, I can't even explain how it happens. All I know is that it happens. That's all I know. The more that you listen to the training and absorb, your brain is beginning to unwind. Because remember, initially, your brain is rejecting everything. As soon as you try to learn something new, you realize that your brain is like, nah. This is your brain. So that's why you have to keep repeating what you're trying to learn. Because you're telling your brain, yeah, it's okay. Just accept this. Yes, accept that. Your brain's like, nah. So you got to go through that whole personal process of your brain accepting what you're trying to give it. That's work right there. So that's why the process takes however long it takes. People, and then people want a time. It's like, well, Mark, I don't understand, how long it's supposed to take me. I have no idea how long it's going to take you. Your brain might respond tomorrow. And even if it does respond tomorrow, that doesn't mean that it's over. That means that it just got over the first part. Now it's moving on to the next part. Now you're trying to give it more. Now your brain's like, all right, you got more? All right, what's this? Nah, I don't know what that is. What's that? What? And now you're going through that part. Now you're in the next phase trying to understand more. Your brain back at it again. Your brain does not just accept. It's the repetition that is allowing your brain to get it. That's why when the light bulb goes off, you're like, oh. It's like a surprise to you because you're like, oh, I get it now. That aha moment when you say, I get it now, that's your brain saying, all right, go ahead and go through. Let it through. Now you're like, oh, I get it now. Damn, it took me a long time, but I got it. Yeah, because your brain just let you accept it just now. Matthew said, training is practice. Demo is shoot around before the game. Landing a trade is the game time result of everything beforehand. Very good way to look at it. Adam said, roll before you can crawl, crawl before you can walk, walk before you can run, run before you can leap, leap before you can fly. Stages. Very good. Mitchell said, the psychological side of training is the hurdle I want to go through within myself before I start taking on the actual practical hands-on in my demo account. Excellent. Excellent. I got to repeat that. He said the psychological side of training is the hurdle I want to go through within myself before I start taking on the actual practical hands-on in my demo. That's it. Karen said, perfect description. My brain started out definitely rejecting everything I saw on the chart. Yep. 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 And you know, like it's like it's so helpful that we talk about it, because now that you know that that's what your brain does, now you can kind of get around what your brain tries to do, and you can push stuff through. How do you push stuff through? Just keep listening to the training. That's how you do it. That's why we used to always be talking about like how we listen to the training when we go to sleep. Like we literally have earbuds. Put the training on, put the earbuds in your ear, and go to bed. And you just start like you'll wake up each day and you know more. You're like, that's interesting. I actually understood. Now I understand that. Oh, I heard that last time, but I didn't get it before. Now I understand that right there. Oh, I get that. Oh, so environment means 1 micropip more frequently than the okay. You start just having epiphany. I'm telling you, it's like a hack. It's like hacking into your brain. Matthew said there's some things you won't discover until you're released and shoot around. See, he's talking about the phases. The phases. Yep. And that's why you have to deal with everything on the level that you're on. Like I know that we've said that many times, that you're learning at your own pace. What does that mean? Well, how is your brain allowing information to come in? For some of you, it ain't at first. It might feel like, I ain't never going to get this. This is too hard. It's not that it's too hard. Your brain is stubborn. So what you're really doing is you're breaking yourself down. Like you're literally breaking down the limitations of yourself by training. And I know that sounds crazy, because it's like, well, that don't even sound like we're talking about learning about the market no more. Because it ain't. It's beyond that. This is the part where you're now breaking down yourself so that you can understand and accept information about the market. The reason you can't accept information about the market and let it sink in is because you're not being broken down first. You got to be broke down first. Especially if you got habits already. Like you have to realize you're coming in with habits. Everybody who came here, you came here with your own shit. You realize that, right? You came here with you. You don't even know who you are yet. That's why I always say the market is letting you know what you're made of. The market is a mirror. It's letting you know, yo, you ain't got no patience at all, bro. Oh, you thought you had patience? You ain't got shit. You ain't got nothing. You thought you was patient? Market is laughing at you. But at the same time, it's helping you, because now that you know that, now you know what needs to be done. You got to hack. You have to hack. How do you do that? You just keep training. Just keep training. That's the answer to everything. The same way Mark's rule is the answer to everything. Because Mark's rule is the answer to everything, you only understand Mark's rule by training. So therefore, training is the answer to everything. Jeffrey said, tearing through the layers. Yes. Cameron said, wherever you go, there you are. See, y'all get it. Y'all get it. Y'all know that this is true, man. You know that it's true. Holly said, notice on Joshua's video that he counts down or up aloud during the last minute. Do you do that too? I probably do in my head. I don't think I do anything verbally. I do a lot of talking in my head, if that makes sense. And it's very interesting because when I talk in my yo crazy. Said Josh would like the sound of his own voice. He be doing all type of stuff. He be singing. He is a trip. But what I was about to say was, when I talk to myself in my head, I hear it audibly, like I'm talking right now. Like when my mouth is shut, I hear this in my head, because and you know why that is? It's because that's how I train. Like I train, I go to bed with training. When I wake up, the training is playing. I could be driving, I'm hearing it. It's crazy. Like it's like a whole nother dimension of yourself. It's like you're really in another dimension, but it's inside of yourself. And then that's how you execute. So now you're executing something that is so embedded in your system. It's like you can't even, I'm not going to say you can't mess up, because you can always mess up. But the likelihood of you messing up is so low that you just don't mess up. That's how solid you are. You're so solid and you're so connected to yourself and in tune with the market, and you respect the market at all times. Like, I don't ever go into the market and be like, I'm good, yeah, I got this. I don't ever do that. You must be crazy. I'll never say that. But what will happen is I'll sit there and observe, and I'll wait. And then I let the market show me everything. And as soon as the market starts to show, I'm like, ah, there it is. Yep, there it is. Because you see it. You know what it looks like. And that's what it is too. See, time and experience, you begin to recognize what it looks like on a chart. But I'm telling you how your process is a reverse engineering process. Like, you're not building yourself up. You're breaking yourself down. Then you're being rebuilt. And it's what you're being rebuilt into. You're not there yet. That's what you're going to become. Right now, you're in the process. And for some, you could be still in the breaking down process. You're not in the rebuilding process yet. You still got to be broken down first. Those are the ones that still got the bad habits. The ones that, you know, you live. You trading live. You just started last month and you trading live right now. Taking trades. And then you got the demo warriors. They took their demo count to 1 million. It's all types. Like, it's so many different manifestations of the things that we go through just personally, and it all comes out. It got to come out somehow. That's how you know what it is. That's how you can recognize what it is. You not only do you see it in others, you see it in yourself too. You be like, yeah, I be doing that shit too. I ain't gonna lie, I do that. You see it, man. Yes, demo warriors. Demo killers, boy. Be smashing that demo. Yes. Oh, man. Matthew said, I noticed I say yep while I'm in the trade. Yep, that's the money, yep. That's the money, yep. Walker said, RFID chips coming soon. Jelani said, you took a Euro trade in one of your videos. He asked if you even knew that. He probably didn't. probably didn't even know. Jamie said that's how the body gets stronger. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Right, when we working out. How you think you get muscle mass? You got to rip your muscle apart first. Then it hurts. Right? You rip it apart, it hurts. Then it gets rebuilt. And literally you're doing that each time. Each time it just begins to hurt less. Right? Isn't that what happens? You still rip it apart. It just don't hurt as bad. Come on, man. This shit is like, this is scientific stuff that we dealing with. It really is. And really just, this is going on in your brain. Same way that it goes on in your flesh. Yes, your whole body go through this every day. Exactly. Yeah, y'all are nuts, man. This is demo. Johnson said Jelani need to mind his business. Yo, that is, y'all are crazy. Matthew said people don't realize that's why they get sore from working out. Exactly. Exactly. Holly said my brain is sore. I know it is. I know it is, Holly. It ain't gonna be sore for long though. That soreness seems like it ain't never gonna go away. You ever lift weights for the first time? I remember when I was younger and I did like weights for the first time. I thought I was gonna die the way my muscles was feeling after that. Then I remember the next day, the dude that I was working out with, he was like, "Yo, you gotta do push-ups." I was like, "What?" I was like, "I can't even move." He was like, "Just do it. You just gotta do it." And sure enough, he made me do it and work through the pain. And like within about 2 weeks, I didn't feel that no more. And I felt like, oh, snap. Like you could feel yourself stronger. Like you felt the strength come in. It's crazy. Exactly. Jelani said it's sore, but it will get easier. Right. You feel the pump after that. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And this is no different. It is no different. With this, what happens is I know that people get excited about the reward. Like what's on the other side, and you want that now. But just train. Let it be. Let it be. It's coming. And what's so amazing is that you don't even know when it comes. Like you don't even know when you're there. You just be there. Matthew said light bulb moments are the pump. One after the other. The pump is the adaptive process of getting stronger. Exactly. Exactly. That shock to the system is necessary to wake those fibers up. That is for real, for real. See? I mean that, and it's like you see how everything connects. Everything that everyone is saying is exactly what we know that it is. We know that that's what it is. It would have to be. It's like, oh, that's why. I was wondering why I thought I wasn't getting it. Yeah, because you being broken down. Your brain ain't trying to accept nothing. Your brain is literally like, nope, at first. Same way you couldn't lift 50 pounds. Remember the first time you tried to lift 50 pounds of weights? He was like, whoa, hold up. I don't think I could lift this. Muscles is like, nah. Like, you never lifted nothing. You trying to start off with 50? Yep. But that is real, man. So another good solid training. Definitely. Definitely. Mitchell, ask in the group chat. I don't know if Jay Carly's on here now, but if she hears this, she'll share it in the group chat for you. Or somebody. Jay Carly, Jelani. Somebody will share the spreadsheet and the money management video in the group chat. So it'll be in there momentarily. So once again, new students, make sure that you watch number 301 in the playlist on repeat. If you have questions or concerns about anything, make sure that you stay connected in the group chat. Okay, yeah, and I'm sure that it is because I saw them posted in there earlier today. But now that I said that, more than likely they'll do it again. And it sounds like they just did it again. Yeah, Adam just shared it again. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, so it's in there now. So tonight's training should be available within about the next half hour or so. We will be back on training tomorrow night, same time and same place. And new students, please make sure that you stay connected in the group chat and just train. Like just train nonstop. Train. Yes, Karen, it's my pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I will see you guys momentarily in the group chat, and I'll see you guys on training tomorrow, same time, same place. All right, everybody have a great night. Hope you all enjoyed your Easter if you celebrate it. And love, peace, and soul. Good night, everybody. All right, Jackie, good night.